This is the most rare and valuable piece of wood I've ever worked with, and I'm terrified to do anything to it because I've got one shot to get it right.
Oh, I know not to do that.
Now you probably think that trees are a renewable resource, but the trees that make this type of wood are not. They don't really exist anymore. Every piece of this type of wood that will ever be cut on our little planet has already been cut. They're not making any more of these, and we have one of them in the damn shop. An unassuming piece of wood like this could actually go for upwards of $500, but I got this one for free from someone who gave it to me contingent on one thing. He said, son, make something pretty out of it. You don't waste it, you hear? Yes, sir. So what do you think? Can I make something pretty out of this rare piece of wood? Or will I accidentally turn it into the most expensive hunk of firewood we could imagine? I actually don't know. I obviously haven't made the damn video yet. Let's find out. So this is something called old growth longleaf pine. And again, you're not allowed to cut these trees down anymore and mill them. This guy right here was actually milled over 100 years ago, and it was a beam, a support in a rice manufacturing plant. The supply of these is slowly dwindling because the only place you can get pieces like this is reclaimed stuff. So we gotta figure out what to make with it so that we can honor one of the last remaining pieces of old growth pine. Like, I was legitimately trying to figure out what I wanted to make with it for weeks. I was checking out different angles, visualizing it. I smelled the damn thing. I even performed a seance to see if some divine intervention would speak to me. Of course it didn't, so I decided to speak to the beam. How you doing, bud? Yeah, good to see you. So what I wanted to ask you was, what do you want to be when you grow up? You want to be like a model car? Do you want to be like a baseball bat, or like a lamp? But then as I saw him laying there in the flowers, laying amongst his people, I realized he probably didn't want to become yet another human construct. He had been a beam all his life. Maybe instead he wanted to be something more natural, something more related to where he came from. The first step was simply just to clean him up. I mean, this dude had been sitting in a warehouse for 100 years. 100 years of wood oxidation, making him dull and gray. Ow, 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 ow. Okay. My thought for this is I want to have this, oh, it's my pencil. My thought for this, I want to have a cascading stream that comes down this thing. And to do that, we have to have a pump that takes the water from the low end all the way back to the high end. But the trick is that I don't want that pump at the low end to be seen. I don't want the tube that brings the water back to be seen. And I don't want the wire that powers the pump to be seen. All of that would ruin the immersion. It would just take you away from the effect of a natural looking piece of wood with a natural looking landscape on it. It's gonna be hard for a couple reasons. Number one, I don't want to add any other material to this thing. No other receptacle that catches the water, no other pieces of wood to try to match this, no metal, no plastic, none of that. I want it all to be self-contained in this wood, which brings up the next part, which is really difficult. This thing's super thick. This is about 7.5 inches deep and 7.5 inches wide. I don't really have tools that can go that deep into this. It's really difficult to take the piece to the tool. You kind of have to take the tool to the piece. Yeah, it's gonna be tough, but I have a plan. The first thing I want to do is cut off the end of this. How the hell am I gonna do that? I think I can do it on my miter saw. Not in one go, I'll have to kind of keep rotating it, cutting, rotate, cut. But I think I can get through all of this if I do that. I've cut it down to length. I need to trace out where I think I want the river to go. I'm also gonna be adding tiny potted plants to this thing to make it look more natural, so I've gotta snake the river between those. There is something rustling around over there. 50-50 shot if it's a lizard or a mouse. All right, gang, we gotta go check out what this thing is. It's really rustling. Sir, and or ma'am, could be a ma'am. Oh, there you are. Okay, it's a lizard. Oh, jeez. All right, calm down, dude. Okay, get you out of here, bud. You gotta be in here, right? Oh, what's up, little dude? Dude, chill. Jeez, don't jump out yet. Come on. Don't bite me. I know. I'm letting you go. Go, my little friend. That way. Come on. No, don't go that way, sir. That way. There you go. We got him. Originally, I tried really hard to get the river to actually follow the grain lines of the wood, but doing it like that didn't leave enough room for those potted plants, so I made my own river. Okay, I like that. And of course, with any river, you have to have a slope to it or else the water won't flow. Now, instead of doing a generic kind of consistent downward slope, I'm actually gonna do like a cascaded tiered effect. I think that's gonna get the water to flow. It was really difficult to fit as many plants as I wanted to on the beam while also keeping the river big enough to see it. Man, that's gonna be hard. That's the deepest. Next deepest, next deepest, next deepest, next deepest. Disregard these right now. But all these different larger sections correspond with a certain depth. Everyone has a tool in their shop that they're afraid of. This is mine, particularly this dude right here. And usually, people are afraid of certain tools because they've had run-ins with them in the past. Isn't that right, you son of a bitch? I've had a run-in with this guy in the past. It wasn't even on. I actually stepped on the cord and it started falling. Then instinctually, my monkey brain reached out to save it. Bam, right on the thumb. I actually have a scar right there if you can see it. I have no idea if that's in focus. So we'll proceed with caution. So I need to route out all of these shapes and they're all at different levels and depths. The trick is when you start routing out stuff, you remove the surface that this thing needs to ride on. So you have to do this methodically so you don't accidentally remove the surface that you need to set the depth of a feature. I think I've planned it out. We'll see. One thing I'll let you know is that it's really difficult to actually get a good shot of the process of routing. There is a tiny window on my tool that lets me see where my bit is actually cutting. In my head, my gaze is glued onto that window so that I can see what I'm doing. So I can't position the camera to also look in that window because my big old head's in the way. Yeah, this is about the best we got. Just know that I'm methodically and meticulously carving away wood in all those shapes that you saw earlier. I just keep dropping the router bit, going to a new layer, a new depth. Then every time that I finish up routing the most recent depth, I have to redraw the border to the next depth because my router just obliterated that pencil line. I drop the bit to the next depth, then I remove that area. The result is a cascading effect where the water's actually gonna run. My fears were actually spot on. I was able to route out the different channels where the water will actually flow, but I also want the bank to cascade down. Otherwise, the water at the very bottom is gonna be super deep and you won't be able to really see it. The router only works because this surface needs to ride on a very constant surface of the wood. As I start taking away these layers, my constant surface completely goes away. So what I need to do is build up like a scaffolding, or I need to build up that constant surface for this to ride on, even as all my wood starts going away. When I build that surface, the diameter of this plate that needs to ride on it is not nearly big enough. So I also have to exchange this little circle for something that's just much, I need to exchange this circle for something that's much bigger. That way it's always riding on the surface that I make. This goes on one side, like this. So now this surface will stay consistent even as I start taking away material on the actual piece. I need to be able to clear out all of the width of this. And if I'm riding over here, you know, I don't have anything resting on this guy anymore. And there's also all this middle where I wouldn't be resting on anything. So I need to make a new plate that is a lot bigger so that it's always resting on these two little guides. And I'm going to use this, because when the center gets all the way to the edge, we're still riding on that side. But before I carve away all that material on the banks, there are a few features that are best added right now. We got this pump here, right? And it's pretty cool, but the entire box has to be submerged underwater because the water gets through these little vents right here. We can't just put it at the bottom of that last level because that last level is only like ½ an inch deep. So we have to put this whole thing at the bottom of a hole that we will drill with this mega drill bit right here. Then it will be completely submerged. Then we're going to run this little snake here, back up all the cascades, but we're gonna route out a little channel for it that we can bury under things. That's how we're gonna conceal all of this. And the only thing we have left is the wire, which I have a plan for. I don't know if it'll work. Let's drill the hole. Use a drill press for these big drill bits. They kind of catch sometimes. All right, and here you'll see me routing out the channel that tube's going to snake through. It's kind of a boring step of the process, but just know that channel cascades like everything else in this damn piece, and then the tube can snake through it and be concealed. Now that we got those features knocked out, let's get back to this router with an oversized plate riding on that consistent surface guide rail that we made. And remember how I was talking about how it's really difficult to get a good video of a router in action? Case in point, look at how terrible this view is. But it's just like the riverbed where I'm dropping that router bit to the appropriate depth to work on a certain area. And you can start to see that cascading river bank is now coming into view. I'm gonna need to redraw where I want my plants to be because again, every time you route something away, you obliterate the pencil lines from the drawings you made at the beginning. I use a 2-inch drill bit. That's the smallest potted plant I could find. Things are kind of coming into place. We have the pump that's gonna go at the bottom of this well here that I've drilled. And then that pump attaches to this tube, which is going to run subterranean in this channel right here. You won't be able to see it. And that tube's gonna come up here and then it's gonna release water at the top of our cascade. The last technical issues that I need to solve, I need to plug it into something. Obviously, we don't want to plug it into a wall because then you'd see a wire all the time. So, I have bought this power bank that, if my calculations are correct, when fully charged, should power my pump for like 40 hours. Might have missed a 0. So it could be 400 hours, right? No. Probably wrong about that. We're going to put this on the underside of this where you can't see it, and then we will snake this cord through the bottom of the well. But obviously that's where the water will be, so then we will seal that up with probably resin. One issue with drilling through that well is that the hole would have to be this big if I didn't alter this at all, and that's kind of a big hole. I'm actually going to cut this wire, and hopefully I am a good enough electrical engineer to reconnect the wire on the other side so that I once again have this little dangly-do that can plug into this guy. All right. No, I'm just kidding. Looks simple enough in there. This is the underside. So that cord will theoretically come out through this hole, and then I'll just make a recessed kind of area for this guy, and then I'll make a channel connecting the two of them. Oh yeah, that fits through. Now I'm going to use tabletop epoxy, and I'm going to paint it over all of this internal cascading area because I don't want it to succumb to water issues. Yeah, so it's a no-brainer at this point for me. I'm going with Total Boat tabletop epoxy. I've been using their stuff since as long as I've been using epoxy, but they actually recently just sent me this jug for free. Even if they didn't, I'd still be using it because this is the resin that I use. But it seals it up, makes it completely waterproof. That way when water is actually coming down this cascading bank, it doesn't soak into the wood. I'll put a few layers just to make sure I really seal up that wood, especially on the walls. But believe it or not, this is the only time I've ever used it for the sole purpose of waterproofing something. I'm typically using Total Boat's products for like aesthetic stuff, like making resin rivers or filling in gaps in wood. It's just crazy versatile, and I legitimately use it on like 95% of all of my projects. I don't know when this happened, but if you look at my router bit, one of the two blades exploded off while it was traveling at God knows how many RPM. So I guess theoretically that little bit of shrapnel pinged off somewhere into my shop. I think I'm okay. I do need that to carve out the battery recess. It's probably been spinning like that for a little bit now, so it can probably go a little further. Let's carve out the battery hole.
Oh, I know not to do that. Pro tip for you. Don't blow into a hole that has sawdust in it and look right over that hole, because you just blow the sawdust directly into your eye.
All right, we just gotta be an electrician now and connect this wire to that wire. I think this'll do. Okay. There we go. And then that will theoretically plug right into there. At this point, I really wouldn't blame you for thinking, what are we doing here? And the reason I wouldn't blame you for thinking that is because I am kind of thinking,
what are we doing here?
Here's where we're at. I have poured and painted resin on the inside of this channel. That should seal up all the wood so that water cannot permeate into the wood. The water will start up here, it will cascade down all of these little terraces, and it's gonna go into this hole right here that we drilled. At the bottom of that hole is our pump. The water goes into it right here. This will be connected, and the pump should shoot it through this tube all the way back up to here. The tube is gonna be concealed under some rocks. The pump in this hole will be concealed, and then the pump has a wire that is going through the bottom of this well to the underside right here, and that will plug in to this battery, which should power it. None of those components are gonna be visible once it's all going, once the river rocks are in there. All these holes are going to have plants in them. Functionally speaking, I'm giving it like a 65% chance of working where the water continuously flows down. Now, the part that I'm very unsure about is whether or not this is actually going to look cool. We're pretty close to done other than sanding these little layers and putting a finish on the wood. Let me do that real fast. Going with a mineral oil and beeswax finish to seal up the wood. Gather round! Gather round! Can everybody see me? Can you all hear me? Excellent. Let's make this. I think this guy's too long. So we gotta move this to the side. Let's plug her in. All right, water is going in. Oh! Okay. Oh my God, it's going. That's nice. Now, for the hell of it, we're gonna just put the rocks on it. Oh my God. Oh geez. Oh, we almost just spilled the entire sack of rocks. Oh geez. I'm trying to shake this as if I was the rocks. Seems like we can put more water in there when there's more rocks in there. I don't know why that works. I mean, it's doing it. Let's just put in our little plants. This is great. So there you have it, my friends, a 100-year-old beam of old-growth longleaf pine, forgotten and left to weather away in a warehouse. A species that you really can't find anymore, and the supply of it is dwindling every single day. I feel really confident that we've honored this piece of wood and this tree by turning it into something that people are going to admire once again. I mean, I know when I look at it, and hopefully when you look at it, you get this sense of nature, this sense of serenity again, as if we went and we took a bit of the outdoors and we brought it inside for us to enjoy when we're sitting under a fluorescent light, spending 20 hours editing a YouTube video. But if you liked this YouTube video and you appreciated what we did with this really cool piece of wood, or enjoyed the process that we used to create it, consider liking and subscribing. It helps quite a bit.